My favorite thing is that I get to see children progress and grow into greatness. Consistency is key, and there's no substitution for repetition. I think musicianship starts when you're a little bit younger because there's a lot of development that has to happen. There are multiple paths to take. There's teaching in the schools, you can get a degree there. There's private teaching, which is what I do. There's also, you can be part of an orchestra. We can now put things on YouTube for teaching aids. Like, that is so helpful. My name is Melodie Gardner, and I am a violin teacher / instructor. I also am a clinician for schools, and I really enjoy that. I actually started my first violin student when I was in 7th grade, so that was quite a few years ago, and I've loved teaching ever since. So what is that, about 20 years plus that I've taught students. It's actually not typical for most people. I love it. I have 7 children, so I have the great advantage of being home and they get to hear my teaching. I usually teach after school, and I have students I've taught anywhere from 3 all the way up to adults, and they study with me for usually an hour and do violin study once a week. So my job is very flexible. I get to be the manager of my own time and job, and that's wonderful, where I can also help my family as well as help the community and teach. My favorite thing is that I get to see children progress and grow into greatness. You get to teach children with different backgrounds and different ways of learning, and it's really fun to figure out how to get through to people. I just love that part of it, as well as develop a skill that will help them not only help the world, but also help people become better people, because they learn discipline, they learn how to become more sensitive, more caring, and they have to listen to their instrument, and in turn they're able to listen to what's happening around them, and they become more sensitive people, and they're able to help in the community. So I love that. One example is about a little girl who, she liked violin, it was very nice and everything, but she didn't do a lot of practicing, but she kept at it, and I just said, you just keep working, and she did. She started to put her heart and soul into it, and I had the impression to invite her to go perform with a group to China. I said, if you practice 2 hours a day, I don't know if this is possible, but something may happen. And she went and practiced at least 2 hours a day, and now she's going to China in just, 5 days. And she was able to audition for the group, and now she's touring China. So I just think that's so remarkable that just putting that opportunity out there, she was able to create greatness within herself and her goals. So I had taught her for 4 years, and when she came to me, we weren't able to even play through a piece completely. And that was, 4 years ago, and now she's able to play multiple pieces through all the way. And when I gave her the challenge, it was almost 13 months ago. And so she's just made incredible progress. The challenging aspects are continuing my education. I think can be challenging because often you have to go out of state and you pay for more education, but I think it's really important to do that. I think another challenging aspect is motivation. Having students and parents be motivated to be able to see the big picture, because often they can only see what's in front of them, and so much of our society is based on quick results. And so if anything hard gets in the way, sometimes it's difficult for them to see past that and be able to create that vision for themselves that they can get through those hard times when they don't want to practice. We know that music is vibration, and it has, and even, there's studies about that, even our muscles, and it's vibration all around us, and it does have healing power if we are able to create a similar frequency to be able to have healing. So there's music therapy. That was another thing that, somebody could go in and actually do music therapy to go help people. With music, there's a great energy as well that is not necessarily tactile, but is still real, and it can be measured. There are different avenues to go. I definitely recommend college. I was a violin performance major. There's also teaching that you can do. After I finished my undergrad, I went and I worked with, I'm a Suzuki trained teacher, so I actually went and took teacher training courses of how to teach curriculum and how to teach in a certain way and methodology. That was very, very helpful because I learned how to teach from great teachers. And also it gave me a good foundation of what I wanted to teach and the principles, not just violin teaching and technique, but also what I want to give to my students, and that is I want to develop a good heart. I think musicianship starts when you're a little bit younger because there's a lot of development that has to happen. So first, starting with a private study is really important to have a really great teacher. And then after that, college and doing some type of major in music. Classes such as sight singing is really helpful to develop the ear, as well as orchestra to get the community, and there's a whole different repertoire that comes with playing in an orchestra. There's also just the private study with another teacher that you do every week. That's really important. Chamber, that's with playing with other musicians in a small group, but you generally have your own part. Theory, music theory, how music is made up and created, understanding that process. Music history is so wonderful, understanding the great composers and why they composed what they did and how, and that's really fascinating as well. And then going and observing, watching other teachers teach, I think is one of the greatest tools, in asking questions. Because there are a lot of ways that we can learn, but I think that is one of the best ways, is to go and observe successful teachers. Why do you like to teach? And what is your background? And my experience. So having experience is really helpful. But the nice thing along the way too is I've been able to be my own manager and boss, so I've been able to create my own vision. I haven't had to do a lot of interviews because maybe that, I don't know if that's good or bad, but because I've been able to create that space and the place that I want to be and the type of studio that I personally want. That's a really great question. I learned that consistency is key and there's no substitution for repetition. I also learned that if we have too many goals in mind, then it is lost. We have to focus on 1 to 3 key elements so that students can progress and know exactly what they're learning. It is by small means that great things happen, whether it's just a beautiful bow hold or just moving a finger a teeny bit or changing the angle. It's by these small things that greatness comes to pass. I really believe that. Other things that I've learned is how to teach principles that maybe are more challenging in a way that kids can understand. It takes a lot of work to be a musician and be a teacher. So definitely determination and a will to do it, even when you're not in the mood. That certainly is a determinant factor to help, as well as having a plan of what you want to be. And as a teacher, I think it's good to have a vision and your own vision of what you want to accomplish and what you want to be. There are multiple paths to take. There's teaching in the schools, you can get a degree there. There's private teaching, which is what I do. There's also, you can be part of an orchestra and be a leader in an orchestra, concert master, and get paid to play in an orchestra and accompany fabulous artists. And I have played in orchestras and I enjoy it, but my focus right now is just to go ahead and teach and enjoy the development of children. Those are main paths. There's also the performing element where can become the soloist, where you get to go tour all over the world and play for people. Well, the ability to be able to communicate to people all over the world, I think, is so incredible, because we can now put things on YouTube for teaching aids. Like, that is so helpful to help guide parents and students to know how to hold the bow and with instruction, and I think that's a great help. As well as getting like performers, like if you want to be a performer, you can record yourself and it's right there. I think that's a great development. But I think something that will never change is just this community that the music world has. We always just joke that a music world world is a small world. People know each other. I went and was performing a concert in Seattle, and there, lo and behold, there were some people I knew there. It was fantastic, and I hadn't seen them for years when I grew up in Utah. So it's a small community, and I don't think that will ever change. I'm grateful for a mom that made sure I practiced every day. She was instrumental. She went to a Suzuki concert and said, "This is what I want for my children." And she made sure that her 3 daughters practiced every day, especially, you know, sometimes there's tears and there's grit and there's not very happy, but she always was willing to put in her time and her work so that I could develop. One of my first memories was when I was little. My mother was a violin teacher, so I would go walk down the stairs. I could walk underneath our piano. I would sit and I would just rock to the music. That's one of my earliest memories, and I think I loved how my mother loved people through music. It was a great example. And as I grew up, I enjoyed serving people and helping people. That was something I loved, and it just was so much a part of me that I wanted to share that with others. It was just a natural thing to be able to teach and relate to people. I just wish everybody was nice to each other. It's very simple. A little kindness goes a long way, and no matter what the background, I wish people were more accepting and just cared for one another at a deeper level, because if we did that, a lot of issues would be solved.
What's your favorite meal?
I love sushi.
What's your favorite thing to do in your free time?
I love listening to music, like the old stuff, and going to musicals, like Singing in the Rain.
What's your most favorite country to visit?
Anything in Europe. And yeah, I love going anywhere, actually. So.
What is one thing you cannot live without?
Knowledge that my children are taken care of and safe.
What's your favorite book?
Anything that has to do with self-help and motivation.
Favorite movie?
Sound of Music, hands down.
Favorite composer?
Well, that is a lot more challenging.
Can name several names.
Okay, well, I love Bach. There's a lot of depth with Bach. It's really remarkable, but I also really enjoy listening to Chopin.
What makes you sad?
When other people struggle.
What makes you happy?
When I can be an instrument in helping people have great success.
Can you repeat and finish the following statement? You should get into my profession. You should become a violin teacher if you are
passionate about making a difference in people's lives through the power of music.
You should not get into my profession if you are
lazy, right? And don't enjoy people. If you feel like you are struggling and not able to learn an instrument or learn any skill, my advice to you is to capture the why of why you want to do it and connect there. And that will allow you to have a bigger vision of why you want to do it, and then not be afraid of the work that it takes, and write down that vision as well as the steps to get there. I recommend listening to your own desires rather than listening to everybody else's opinion of you, and it takes diligence and to hang in there, to not give up, to be patient. I really like the story about the tortoise and the hare. I really believe that slow is fast and fast is slow. When you do things right and you do them in the best way with depth, then success happens. If we try and do shortcuts, then it eventually catches up to us and we don't win in the end.